Hi, everyone. Welcome back to Buff Naggle the podcast, where we explore entertaining and enlightening discussions of the adventure of life and all things good. From science and technology to history and philosophy to leadership and success. We hope to give you a better understanding of the world and skills for everyone to pursue their own adventure. Hi, everybody. Welcome back to Buff Naggle the podcast, where we talk about all things good and the pursuit of the adventure of life. I'm Zach, and we got a fantastic show today. We're wrapping up the Zachisms with the seventh and the final Zachism about being kind, showing grace, and spreading joy to those around you. However, I can't do this alone, so as always, I'm joined by Rafe. Rafe, how are we doing today?
Zach, I would allow you to venture a guess, but that would just ruin the shtick, right? Right? It is I'm great. I'm great. It's a wonderful day to be doing a podcast with you. Here's something to think about. All right, here's something to think about. I had this job once where I realized I had a fantastic boss, and I realized at some point I would no longer have this guy as the boss, and I said to myself, what do you call it when very deliberately, I thought to myself, I I need to take advantage of what I have here, and I need to be appreciative of the situation I'm in. And I vowed at that point, right there, sitting in the middle of a meeting, to say, you know what, this is really good. I'm going to appreciate this, and I'm not going to ever have any regrets when this is over. So it's another day to do a podcast. And for that, I am eternally grateful. And you know what? Nothing lasts forever. But for right now, it's going great. It's a wonderful day to be doing a podcast with you. Hey, Zach, thank you for doing the hard work, but thanks to the listeners for doing the listening work. We are grateful to you guys. Welcome to I guess this is our second year of doing this stuff. Buff Naggle the podcast remains a global top 10% podcast. Remember, we're always reachable at buffnaggle@buffnaggle.com. We're on Twitter, Instagram, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Amazon Music. We're now on Stitcher, Zach. Did you even know that was a thing?
No.
Yeah, we're on Stitcher, okay? And if there's a platform out there you need, you just let us know. If you are new to our podcast, welcome. Thank you for coming. We are glad you are here. We are going to ask you, hey, give us at least 4 episodes, right? We're going to give you some reason to come back. We'll talk about something that is of interest to you and something that resonates with you and the things you like to do. And remember, if you tell a friend to listen, you will get a free episode. So as they say in the South, mash that subscribe button or the listen button or the follow button, whatever it is, and you will get little alerts when the buff drops more stuff. Zach, tell me about being kind.
Yeah, so today, like I mentioned earlier, we are wrapping up the final Zachism, which is above all, be kind. Simple little phrase there, but it's mainly about the idea and the concept of complimenting people behind their back and then saying nice things to their face. It's this idea of creating a positive attitude and positive change to the people that you're working with, the people who you're superior to, or whatever it may be, so that they feel comfortable going to you, because that kindness that you radiate, that joy that you show them, is going to make a big difference in their life, because you don't know what someone else is going through. All you can do, though, is be kind to them and be thankful for the work and the effort and whatever else it may be that they give to you.
So when I was growing up, I hear what you're saying now, and I think about when I was a kid back, prior to about
19 years ago.
Yeah, prior to about 1979 or so, Zach. It seems to me everything was in black and white. All right, everything's in color now. Everything from your phone to your newspaper to everything's in color. But back then there was a lot of stuff in black and white, and it seemed to me like the world of the mid to late 70s, when I became conscious that there was stuff out there. It was a black and white world, and not in the sense that there was like one side or the other side. It was black and white because things were just gray. There wasn't a lot of color. I mean, I remember some blue skies and pretty flowers and some flags waving in the wind now and then. But the memories looking back, it was a time where things were not necessarily kind, like you said. There was a lot of hazing, Zach. We had actual, honest to God hazing in school. There was this thing that went around, Zach. Okay, so when I was a kid, we would go to the high school football games, and my dad was team physician, so he would hang out down there at the field, and my older brothers were running off doing their things, and here I was by myself, and like
Well, that's
sometimes
the problem right there.
well, it
We
was
left
me.
you unsupervised.
Well, see that yes, you're right. That is the problem because they left everybody my age unsupervised, and so we were at the high school football field, and actually it was the Gib Mar Field. It was named after Gib Mar, who was a guy who did stuff in Hartford, and they named the field after him. But there was stands on one side and stands on the other side for the opposing team. But around the ends of the track where you would have to go, it was not well lit. It was generally very dark, and you know what? That's where the hooligans hung out. And if you were like a sixth grader or a seventh grader wandering around, and there were 10th, 11th, 12th graders who had nothing better to do on Friday night than harass these kids. And a thing that, Zach, this is actually a thing that they would do. They called it initiation, right? The older kids had permanent markers that they would carry with them, right? And they would if a pack of or a herd, whatever we were, of seventh graders were wandering around, they would pick one out and they would grab him and they would initiate him, which meant they all took their markers and they wrote all over this guy's face. They'd pin him to the ground and they'd draw on him. All right. And just cover your face in marker. All right. And now I gotta believe that is, I mean, that happened to me one time. I got pinned down. I remember lying there, just keeping my eyes closed. I didn't want a marker in the eye. And it is a humiliating experience because it takes away your power. And I gotta believe that if there's a woman out there who's been assaulted, that she feels that's the feeling, right? It is, you are completely powerless and it is a crime of power. And that was a thing that happened every game, Zach, to a couple kids, and they never ever caught the perpetrators. So that's a thing that happens, Zach. Now, that's an example. And okay, I know we're going here to be kind, and that's kind of a haze, but hazing is not kind, all right? And that's the world where I grew up, and that's not the kind of world we want to have.
No, we do not want to have a world of harshness and bullying and that. We want, like I mentioned earlier, we want that ideas and those spaces where people can fully show up as themselves. They can talk about difficult things, and if they do talk about those things and they go to people about them, they are met with grace and kindness to be fully who they are, so that you can meet where people are at, and that softness, that little marshmallow in between people that connects us can be fully there, and we can kind of continue on, and we can lift people up and we can bring them to higher levels. Because if the world is tough, which it is, and we're not doing our job to stave off that toughness and to make people feel good, the world is going to get darker.
So, okay, so how do you respond then to somebody who says, "Oh, so you just want everything to be candy soft, and you're willing to, like, but you play rugby, Zach. I mean, that's a tough game, and those are tough people doing." And you've told me stories about how you have responded to certain instances on the rugby pitch and in your life. So, how do you balance out providing that safe space with safe space? Look, I can't even believe the safe space with recognizing that there are times when you do need to be tough, in the sense that you need to be able to deal with things that are difficult.
Yeah, I think, well, I have shifted my definition of toughness. I think being able to be vulnerable and to talk about things that are difficult, that is toughness. It's not the same type of toughness as taking a hit across the middle in a football game, but it is toughness, and that type of toughness needs to be recognized and shown. And if someone does show that and they're not met with positive lifting up spirits, and instead they're made fun of or they're ridiculed or something like that, they're never going to talk about it again. that it's they're not going to grow from that, and they're going to keep whatever that is bottled in, and they're not going to feel safe to discuss those type of things. So you're right, there is a balance, but like also I'm not saying that like everyone should run around and like not do things. Like I'm not saying that. I'm saying that like we need to, as a society and as people and the people we interact with, sometimes at the end of the day, we just need to tell the people that we're near, hey, I appreciate you for doing X, Y, or Z. I care about you deeply, and here's why. Thank you for being in my life. And that 2 second conversation will go a lot further and will help that person maybe find out who they are and find out the place that they want to be a lot more than any teasing or joking or little pranks that people play on them, because you know what? It's harmless and it's okay. Well, it's not harmless because it's going to hurt that person and they're going to feel excluded and pushed away.
So, but you've been in a lot of sports locker rooms and sports environments, and most of them, like they've all been male sports, right? I mean, you've been in boy locker rooms and with high school boys, all the way or grade school, all the way from when you played t-ball, all the way up to college and after college rugby situations. But you've been around those team environments where they are. I guess I'm going to use the word jocular, because there is some teasing that takes place, but there are times, and you've witnessed this, you said, and I witnessed this when I was a kid too. It was a nasty environment when I was a kid with all the teasing that went on. Where's that? Is there any room for the teasing banter? I guess I'll call it. Is there any room for that, or does that always escalate to a problem?
I think it escalates to a problem when you are never seeing the kindness, or you never, the grace doesn't happen. So if we're in a locker room together and I'm always making fun of you because you have gray hair and you're 17 years old, but I never say anything positive about your work ethic or your ability on the field, like that's not going to make you feel very good. And you're like, all these guys do is make fun of the fact that I'm balding or I have gray hair as a 17-year-old. Like that how does that help anybody? But like to everyone else, it's like, hey, we're making fun of Rafe. This is cool. I mean, like eventually you're going to get to the point where like this is enough, and you walk away from the game, you walk away from the team, and you go find somewhere else where you feel that you're more accepted for just existing.
Do you think guys do that as a way to maintain power and position, that some of these people feel threatened, so that's how they react? Or is it something that they picked up from their parents, from their father, that they always just tease? Like I said, there was a lot of teasing when I was
think the locker rooms, if you're a senior, you're doing what people did before you, and as a freshman you see that happening and you just kind of adapt to that relationship because like that's how you survive. But like we can tease someone like, come on, what an idiot, you dropped a ball, and then joke about it, and then like 5 minutes later like pick that guy up saying, hey, you made a great play, appreciate having you around, hey, let's go grab dinner after this. Like doing those other little plus things to make people feel welcomed and warmed and surrounded by a group of people who do care about them. But if all you hear is the negative, hey, you suck, or you're an idiot for dropping the ball, or whatever it may be, like it's not going to make you want to feel welcomed and to be in that place. Like we all seek that warm, fuzzy feeling, whatever it may be. And it comes in different ways. If it's band, if it's music, if it's drama, if it's poetry, whatever it may be. And we want to go to the places where we can celebrate the thing that we like and have people be receptive of it and understand like, hey, I see the effort you put in on this. I like it. It's good. Could it be better? Maybe, but I like what it is, and I like that you did it, and you're my friend, and I'm going to support you for that. Instead of this like teasing of like, you talked about X, Y, and Z, or you're crying after a game or something like that. It's not going to make people feel comfortable, and it's a lack of kindness and a lack of grace.
Yeah. So you talk about grace. I remember very vividly when I started to recognize that as a thing. Like I said, things were very black and white and gray when I was a kid. There was a lot of teasing and a lot of hazing kinds of things that took place when I went to high school, and then in college too. I remember that in college, in certain groups I was with, and I went to graduate school, and it was pretty much gone by the time I went to graduate school. But I really saw the opposite of that, like the grace you're looking for. I started seeing that when I actually got into the business world, and I met some professionals that were like off the charts. They just exuded. Is that the right word? They showed grace, right? They just made everyone around them feel bigger, feel better, feel more worthy, simply because of the way they treated them. They were never condescending. If there was something that needed to be adjusted or modified in behavior, those things were done behind closed doors in a positive environment. And these people showed real grace. They showed it to me, and I know they showed it to other people. That just because you could tell by the team that these people put together in a commercial R&D setting. It was stunning to me how wonderful that was, and that's when I started seeing these really graceful people in a world outside of, for example, outside of the priesthood, right? I had seen them before in certain of those areas, but these were professionals. These were highly successful professional scientist people who had the ability to make everyone else feel bigger.
Yeah, and when you do that, the work and your ability as a team to produce stuff increases, not just linearly, exponentially. And the more you do that, the more people are going to buy into that community. They're going to buy into that team. They're going to buy into that group, and they want to feel part of it. And it's going to make them difficult to leave. If you're in a professional setting, people say they don't leave jobs; they leave bosses. And if you have a boss or a supervisor, whatever it may be, that doesn't respect you, I have had that before. I loved the people I was working with. I left because I had one thing that I told months in advance. I need this one day off. They didn't give me that one day. I'm like, okay, I'm gone in 2 weeks. I've done everything. If you're not going to respect this thing that I wanted, I can't be around there. Despite the fact that the people I was working with were great, it happens. It moves on. But if you have that positive supervisor, you have that positive leader who's kind of leading the charge, that front foot forward, instead of just yelling at people, harping on them. They're in the trenches, they're doing the work, they're showing up for people. You're going to have people want to stick around. And those people are going to be able to create something really powerful and really cool. And if you can be a part of that, it's even cooler.
So you had that kind of success at Gonzaga coaching. That's right? I mean,
I'm just playing in general. I feel like just that this, like, the team there, what we were able to do and get everyone buy in on like a community level, because we were focused on not necessarily winning games. Yes, that was a focus, but like we built a team. And I've been around a lot of teams that they throw around the words family and stuff like that. But we were really a group like, hey, if someone was hurting, whatever it was, emotionally, physically, mentally, spiritually, we rally behind them. We'd see what they need, and we made sure that we were that first line of defense they had. And if we saw people going after our people, like, that's not going to end well for you. Like, I mean, and it happened on the field. Like, if our captain got ran, like, okay, who ran him? What's his number? Okay, target on his back. Like, he's paying for that. And we'd make those plays because like we rally around each other and we want to do something great. And it's gonna, if you're doing those type of things, and you might not have the best ability in the world, but that ability is going to compound together, and you're going to create something even bigger. You can look at the fact that like Eli Manning led a 6th seed to the Super Bowl multiple times because they rallied around each other and they did their jobs and they were community focused and they were happy with each other and they were graceful with each other and they were able to make it there and then win.
So you and I talk from a point of view that from our point of view, right, which is the one we have to talk from, and that's with guy culture in sports. Do you have female athlete friends or even just female friends that talk about the what is I guess I'm going to call it fertilizing, and what is toxic about their relationships? Do they suffer the same things as guys do? that you know of?
I mean, most of my guy friends are like my college rugby buddies. I don't have a lot of guy friends in general. It just has things have turned out in my life that I have a lot more female friends, and
So
they
what do they
show that
say? Yeah,
kindness
yeah.
on a daily basis. I have multiple text messages from people that, just like, hey, I appreciate XYZ thing you said in book club, or XYZ thing that you bring to the table. Like, and it makes me feel good that like people recognize and they see my light and my gifts, and they want to celebrate that for me.
So, but have they ever? But we've seen that, right? I mean, there's movies about there's a movie called Mean Girls, right? I mean, and women can be just as toxic as men in some of these instances.
Yeah, I mean, I've never seen that movie, but
Oh
I
yeah, I
know
haven't
like
either, but I
people are
know.
like there's a competition thing and there's comparisons going around. I mean, it just stop with the stupid comparison. It's not going to get you anywhere. Celebrate your people. Like, I mean, like I can't express this enough. Like, if you have 5 friends, send them a text message. Send one of them a text message for the next 5 weeks. Choose whoever it is, and then in that message say, "Hey," insert their name, and then insert some stuff you appreciate about them, and say that you're thankful to have them in your life. Do that. It's going to make their day. It will make their year. It will make their next year while you're at it, and it will make up for last year. Like, it will do all of these things, and then they'll be thankful. Like, hey, Jenny, that message meant a lot, and I appreciate that. You made me feel important and included, and those are good things to do. Stop focusing on the comparison. Your friends are gravitated to you for a reason. Celebrate that. Share that. Be kind. Show grace. Have fun. Smile more.
Use the heart emoji. All right,
Yeah. Most
so
used emoji. Fun fact.
yeah, is it really?
Mm-hmm.
What about the thumbs up?
Well, okay, so heart emoji. There's a bunch of like. There's the heart emoji. Then there's like different colored heart emojis. Then there's the smiley face with like all the hearts around you, like warm love. Like I use all of those ones. The thumbs up, the lion. Um, yeah.
And then there's the smiley face with the hearts for the eyes.
Uh huh.
Yeah.
And
Okay.
then
All
there's
right.
the upside down smiley face. That one's just fun.
Yeah, I'm not sure. What exactly does that mean?
I haven't figured it out yet, but I just
Uh,
like using it.
so, all right. So, in the teasing culture that we see, so we've pretty much said. Let me see if I can kind of summarize a little bit of what we said, because it's like teasing doesn't help. All
No.
right. On occasion, it's all right as long as it's balanced, and I guess more than balanced, and probably overwhelmed by positive support. But I want to hit two other things. Um, Pranks. I want to talk about two things. I want to talk about pranks. I want to ask about false praise. I'll go to pranks first. What about pranks? When people talk about, it surprises most people because most people think I'm a prankster, but I stopped being a prankster 15, 20 years ago just because it felt that that I wasn't doing, I'd spend all this time, effort, and energy setting up a prank, but it always puts somebody as the butt of the joke. And that wasn't right. Even if it was a neat prank, it was, it just wasn't a good thing to do. So what about pranks?
I mean, I'm not a fan of them and their whole premise of like you're targeting a person and then they become the butt of a joke, which is kind of against my whole principle of like shining the light on people and like lifting them up and making them feel special. Like that doesn't make them feel special. It makes them feel like scared and timid, and they don't get the warm fuzzy feeling. I'm all about that warm fuzzy feeling. Like we need to celebrate our people, and to me, it's not a celebration. So like, what's the point?
All right. So we could summarize that by saying pranks are stupid.
Yeah.
All right. Okay. Okay. All right. Now I want to talk about like, because you said, say, what would you say? Say nice things behind their back. And
Compliment people behind their backs and nice things to their face.
okay, so how do you do that? Okay, so I'm fully in agreement on that. I think that's a great way to look at it. Um, but how do you teach and admonish then? If you're coaching or you're a supervisor and someone needs to do something different to improve or to succeed, how do we can't, okay, I see this, I used to see this in youth sports. There's a kid out there and he's playing baseball and the ball comes in, and he's so scared of the pitch that when the ball leaves the pitcher's hand, the kid dives into the dirt out away from the plate. And the ball goes across three straight times for strike one, strike two, strike three. And the kid gets back to the dugout, and mommy goes, Jimmy, you did great. And I'm like, Jimmy knows he didn't do great. I mean, is that so? That's this false praise thing. And how do you, where's that line between false praise, finding what they did good, admonishment, and lifting people up? How do you
I mean,
figure all
you
that
don't
out?
publicly humiliate someone. Like if they messed up, they know they messed up. Like I, by the time you're three, if you made a mistake, I guarantee you, you know what? A dog knows it makes a mistake when it pulls the paper out of the thing and chews it up, like or the pillow or whatever it may be, or the
It
cat.
isn't it isn't the internet full of videos of dogs showing their own shame,
Yeah.
right?
So there's no point in yelling at them when they already know that they messed up. What you do then is you talk to that person individually, privately, away from people, saying, hey, um, you struggled, maybe have them walk through their thought process about like, hey, what were you doing? And then you look for ways on how to change that. If you're doing a math problem and you're doing the derivative of x squared, um, and they get the answer of 7x, well, maybe we talk about how they got that when whatever rule that they created to get 7x when that's not the right answer. You work through that and you have them slow down and you just talk to them like a normal person. There's no yelling, doesn't get you anywhere. Well, who does that benefit? Does that benefit you as a coach or you as an educator or you as a leader? I don't think so. Does it benefit the person who's getting yelled at? 100% no, because they're not going to feel good. Talk to them normally. Find out what's going through their head, what's going to work for them, what's not going to work for them, and then go with that forward and create a plan of action to be able to successfully take on the problem.
Yeah, I think that's we talk about. I think about this. It all for me, and we've talked about this a number of times on the podcast. For me, it comes back down to love, right? And not eros, moo face kind of smushy love, but love. Love is willing the good of the other as other, and you can't have love without truth. And if you really want what's best for your second baseman who has trouble, hanging in there when the curveball looks like it's going at his head, then it doesn't do any good to tell him something that's not true, right? Or if your daughter is having trouble with, I don't know, doing the pirouette
Derivatives.
dancey thing or the derivatives or whatever it is, all right? It doesn't do any good to say, yeah, 7x, that's almost right. It's like, no, that ain't right, right? And here's how we can get it right. And here's, find the mistake. And I guess what you're saying, and I hear that. So if you say this isn't right and they cower in fear and they start crying because they know they've made a mistake, well, you're in a real world of hurt, and you generated that through you and the culture generated that by building that person to that situation that they're scared of the mistake. Right? We talked last week or 2 weeks or three, whenever it was. I think you and Harry talked about sports being a great opportunity for kids to learn to make mistakes when there's no consequence.
Yep.
And if you get 7x when you differentiate x squared, well, you did it wrong. So let's go back to say, yep, that's wrong. Now, how do we do it right? And if they are open to recognizing the error, they're going to be a lot faster to get to their solution, which means you can all stop doing the homework and go get ice cream.
Yeah, and then you get ice cream, which is always beneficial.
Gotta love ice cream.
Additionally, it goes back to a point I made earlier with one of the Zachisms about failure. You're going to grow from that failure because you failed at something, you stumbled, you didn't do it right, but someone showed you grace and kindness to be able to work through it so you could do it right. And then you're light years ahead of where you were when you failed the first time. And you can use that as a positive momentum thing, and it's going to snowball into you doing and being able to take on whatever you want to because you have that skill set and you have that mindset that I can move forward. I mean, additionally too, like that softness is good. Like its softness is not a bad thing because you're showing that kindness and you're working through the issues, and then at the end of the day, you get ice cream. So
that was always the thing, homework's over, ice cream time, right? And that's the thing is you can't get that done You can't get to the ice cream unless you go. And sometimes the road's hard. All right. Sometimes it's bumpy. You will fail. You will make mistakes. You might even cost your team a game. You might cost your company a contract. Um, I've never seen a situation that improved because somebody got yelled at, but I have seen lots of situations that were improved when the person who made the mistake said, oh, I got it now. Wow, I'm sorry. Let's see what we can do to make that better. Or help me understand what I did wrong. You're right. The yelling, the screaming, the teasing, the poking, the hazing, those aren't graceful. Those are not kind. And they don't get you where you need to go. Love speaks the language of truth. And I think you have to speak truthful, but there's no reason you have to be, scratchy and yucky when you do it.
Yeah, I mean, like, I think it goes back to, I've mentioned it earlier, I'll keep mentioning it again, about, compliment people behind their back. Say nice things to their face. Be kind. Don't yell at them. Make them feel warm and welcomed and comfortable with the group, the setting, whatever it may be, so that they can be successful. Because if you're a leader or you're a supervisor, whatever it may be, and if you're not providing that, you're not putting people in a position to be successful, which means your company, your team, your group is not going to be successful.
I want to go back to this, like, to that statement, like on coaching, because we see this all that. You had spent years doing football. I spent years doing football, and a lot of people see this. They see football coaches screaming at players, and you and I both. You had the benefit of playing under him, and I had the benefit of watching Richard Boone coach rugby, and I guess I just have this picture in my head of a coach screaming at a kid, no, in this formation, you're supposed to be lined up on the outside shoulder of the tight end or whatever, right? That in one scenario. And if the kid doesn't know why he's doing the wrong thing, if you're screaming at him, he's not going to go, Coach, I didn't understand what you said. I didn't hear it because we were running sprints and the air goes through my helmet and and you know what? The truck drove by and I didn't hear you. If you're yelling at the kid, he's never going to come up and say, Coach, last week you told us to be on the inside. But if you build that relationship where there's trust and you have open dialogue, if that's really the case that you screwed up, he'll tell you. And then you can fix it for everybody. The yelling at him doesn't solve it. And Boone used to do this over and over. And I saw it all the time. Pulling a guy aside, tell me what you were thinking when you made that play. And if you find out that if you might say, well, why were you thinking that? And he said, well, you told us that last week. He was like, oh, all right, well, I guess I screwed that up. Let's get that fixed. And I've never seen a scenario that benefits from yelling. And that's a lesson for coaches, for teachers, for parents and supervisors, for everybody. The yelling, that doesn't help.
Yeah, it's not going to get anyone anywhere. People aren't going to feel warm about themselves, and they're going to disassociate with that group at some point in time. So, I mean, I can talk, spread that kindness, spread that joy, spread that grace, and make sure the people in your life who are important to your life know that they're important. Send them a text message. Tell them why you appreciate them.
Get them ice cream.
Show them love in some way that's not that romantic love. Because you know what? Getting ice cream with friends shows that love. Getting together with your friends and talking and laughing and smiling, which is something we all need to do more, is good to do, and it spreads that kindness and spreads that joy.
Yeah, yeah, that's it, Zach. You got it. Pranks are stupid. Stop the teasing. Stop the hazing. Stop the yelling. And love speaks a language of truth. So that's where we are, Zach. That's what I got.
That sounds fantastic. Remember to go compliment people behind their backs and say nice things to their faces. Thank you all for listening. Go seek the good, be the good, and spread the good. Enjoy the adventure of life.